Hi everyone and welcome to One Autistic Person. Today's video is one that I'm going to do about autistic burnout. Now this is something I have experienced myself, is something that I am currently dealing with, but also, and I've known for quite some time, I've known kind of even before my diagnosis that potentially I was burnt out, and that the effects of that were maybe worse or different to how it may be for a neurotypical person. But one of the other things is that due to having mental health issues, I also take SSRIs, and I just wanted to sort of touch on. I'm not going to go too deep into it because I don't really understand myself what's gone on here. But due to current changes in my medication, I've had to reduce taking one SSRI, and I'm taking two different ones. And I went through a transition period of not really taking any, or being on such a low dose that it had a massive effect on me. But I didn't realise how much the burnout effects that I would have would sort of show themselves over the last sort of 4-week period that they have. The medication that I've taken I've been taking for about 5 years, and I think it's masked a lot of the issues that I'm now facing in relation to clearly burnout issues. One being that my mask has completely gone, and another being my sleep has been terrible. My reaction to sensory stimuli has completely changed for the worse. It's been an interesting ride, and I just wanted to point out that if anybody is taking any kind of antidepressant medication, that if you need to change that this may, and if you do feel there's a possibility that you may be burnt out, to be aware of that and maybe have a conversation with your doctor about it, because I feel like if I'd have had that conversation with my doctor before I did, then maybe we would have done things a little bit differently. I also wanted to share this before Christmas because I know it can be a bit of a trigger point for burnout, because there's a lot of expectations and a lot of social expectations, and it can be quite a difficult time, but also there's potential time for self-reflection and spare time that you might not have generally. I have not done a video for just coming up to a week. I was doing them every day, and if I could, every other day if not, but I am, over the Christmas period, while I take care of myself on the burnout side of things, I am going to make sure that I still put a video out each week, because they are helpful for me, but my executive function is so bad at the moment that I don't believe I can do it every day, and I think I'd actually be putting myself in a really bad situation. So I will be doing them weekly, one now, one just before the new year, and then for the next 3 weeks, and then one at the beginning of January. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is go through some of the causes, some of the characteristics of actually being in burnout, and some of the reduction and prevention methods that you can use. And then also there is a test that you can do, and I thought, again, that would be helpful to have. For a few different reasons. One, because it allows you to have a look and see whether what you're feeling could potentially be burnout, but also it can allow you to have the language that you may need to be able to discuss it either with other people around you, because it can be extremely difficult having those conversations, or if you wanted to speak to a doctor, it'll allow you to find some strength in that, I think, because you've got the understanding of the fact you've taken this test, and I think that can sometimes be helpful. But also, again, it can help with the language that you may use in relation to discussing it with your doctor. But you can also print a PDF out and take that with you as well if you needed to. So that sort of like bridges that gap of sometimes where the communication can be a bit of a problem with doctors. So what I'm going to have a look at first is some of the causes of burnout. So some of the main causes for autistic burnout, and this list is not exhaustive, ironically, seen as it's extremely exhausting, being burnt out, but the main causes are masking. Now, anybody who's watched previous videos that I've done will know that I have quite a negative view on masking, and that yes, it is necessary at times, but the fact that we are forced as autistic people to do it way more than most people would need to, this is obviously going to have a negative impact, because masking in itself, camouflaging, however you want to sort of word that, it is acting in a way that does not feel natural to you. and that it's difficult for you to keep up, and that is going to have a toll on your mental health, which could then lead into autistic burnout. Difficult or unreachable expectations from family, friends, work, school, university, or society in general. I feel this quite heavily, that I feel that my family are still coming to terms with the fact that I am autistic. I don't know, I'm saying coming to terms with it, but that is what it feels like from their perspective, that there is a coming to terms with it, and I do feel like I am battling that quite often. And there's an expectation to be the way I was before I started unmasking so much. And work, I feel a lot of that, but I do feel it generally from society as well. I feel like society in general is just made to make my life more difficult. And kind of linked to that is stress related to living in a neurotypical world that often is not built for us, and is extremely difficult to navigate, which again is the same kind of thing. So you've got the expectations of society, but also the fact that society and everything that we do within it are built around how a neurotypical person would expect their life to be. And life changes and transitions. And I've had quite a few of those personally recently as well. There's quite a lot that's gone on in my life that I think has led to me being in a burnout situation. And there's been a lot of transitions over a long period of time. And there's been some quite big things that have been quite stressful recently in my life, which have meant that the burnout has sort of taken its toll hugely over the last few months. There can be issues regarding gaining support as well, because we all know, I think, from going into situations with doctors and like I've just said about my family, that you can experience gaslighting and dismissal, where you're sort of told you weren't like this before, or it's not that it's not quite as bad as you think it is, or you can't be as bad as what you're saying it is. We can be quite bad at setting boundaries or self-advocating. We can struggle putting any sort of healthy boundaries in place and saying we need to do this way, and understanding where our boundaries are and when we can't cross them. We struggle quite often. I know I struggle with this, with an inability to take time out of the situation. Somebody said something to me the other day when I was having a session with my psychiatrist about how to deal with situations. She said to take a break from life, and I was like, how? There is no way of taking a break from life. I don't understand what that means. I do a lot of self-care now, but I still don't feel like I take a break away from life, and I'm still trying to work out what that means, because it's a very literal thing to me. How can you? It's not possible to take a break from life. And then sort of adding into all of that, there's insufficient external resources and social support that we receive, which can then all pile up and feel very negative for us, and feel very much like we are battling continually just to get day-to-day support that we might need, or even recognizing the fact that we need that day-to-day support can be extremely difficult. And once we do recognize it, how do we vocalize it? How do we put it into words? And again, that's why I feel like the test that I'm going to do at the end, the Autism Burnout I think it's Construct. I will double check that. I'm pretty sure it is the ABO. I think is what it's called. It's on the Embrace Autism website, which I'll link in the bottom. In the description, but I think that allows you to maybe look at things from a little bit of a different perspective, and how we vocalize it and tell people how we're feeling. So what I'm now going to look at is some of the characteristics and the impact that it can have on life. So these are quite general. I'm not necessarily looking at these from the way it affects me, but some of these things do affect me in this way. These are actually taken to an extent, I'm sort of paraphrasing from the Autistic Society's website, which again, I'll link down below. So let's have a look at burnout characteristics and the impacts that it may have on us as autistic people. So, some of the characteristics of burnout and the impacts that it can have. The big one seems to be that what most people feel is that loss of skills. So I feel this, that I feel like everything now that I was able to do, I'm not able to do anymore. I have a complete block of being able to actually do most day-to-day things that I used to be able to do, and the things that I were good at, I'm not very good at anymore. I'm really struggling to even add numbers together, which for me is not normal at all. And sort of linked to that is degradation of executive function, and I feel like those two things are quite intrinsically linked. That I don't have the executive function to get up and do it at the same time as I've lost the ability to actually do it when I do get up and do it. Most of the things that I was able to do before, I can't play The Sims. I find that I am really confused by it. I find every little thing that I was able to do previously really confusing. My spelling is getting atrocious. That it's just very, very minor things are now a huge difficulty for me. A reduced tolerance to sensory stimuli, definitely. So I am hearing loud noises much more. I'm seeing things much sharper. Everything around me seems to be much sharper, and that's therefore meaning that I sometimes see things out of the corner of my eye that are distracting to me. I feel like my skin, I want to take it off and put new skin on because it's just uncomfortable. I feel internally like I can feel all of my organs working. I can feel my blood going around my body. I'm having anything. I feel like something's touching me all the time. I feel very just uncomfortable generally. And that's with pretty much every one of my senses. I'm smelling things that I wasn't smelling before and tasting things that I wasn't tasting that are not really there. It's just pretty much everything there is about 3 different buzzing noises going on in this room at the moment because there's electrics in the room. So I can hear each one of them separately and individually, and it's really frustrating. So sleep can be impacted. This has definitely been the case for me. My sleeping pattern has got atrocious. That's going to be because I'm changing my medication, but it was really bad prior to me starting to take SSRIs, or certainly the last one that I was taking. So at the moment I seem to be staying awake for like 48 hours, not being able to sleep at all, then sleeping straight for 20 hours, and then going through a period of napping where I'll nap every few hours for 10-15 minutes, and then I'll go back into not being able to sleep, and then and the cycle continues. And that kind of links into the next one, which is chronic exhaustion. Of course, you're going to be exhausted if your sleep pattern is impacted, but I also feel fatigued all the time. Like there is just no energy anywhere. Even when I have slept, there's no energy. They're just a constant not feeling like I want to do anything. Memory issues, and especially working memory. Now, this is not something that was on the Autistic Society's website. This is something I've experienced. I'm finding that my working memory is really bad. I'm forgetting what I'm doing a lot, which I do because of the fact that anybody that's watched my videos previously will know that I'm going through the assessment process for ADHD, and the working memory is part of that, but it's definitely got much, much worse recently. Like this video, I've had to do a lot of notes on this video, even though I should have been able to remember most of it. But anything that is something I'm currently doing, I will forget very easily what it is that I'm doing and what I've just learned. Affects many aspects of personal life, including ability to mask and deal with social situations. So masking in social situations and deal with social situations in general. I feel like I can't deal with any social situation. I feel like I'm taking everything everybody says literally. My mask is not there anymore. I'm literal in my responses to things. I'm not able to make any of the allowances that I was making previously to sort of get around my directness. The directness is just happening regardless, and I can't make any adjustments to that even in written. I don't feel the ability to be able to even write an email and not be the direct person that I am in my head. It's not translating anymore, and there's no way of me making any allowance for that, and I'm at the point where I can't stop myself, and it is having an impact on my family life and my friendships and my work life. So it's kind of affecting everything at the moment. And then there's the feeling of fear of permanency, that the skill loss is going to be permanent, that the memory issues are going to be permanent, that the chronic exhaustion is going to be permanent. I'm really worried that this is going to be forever. I know that it's probably not. It may last for a very long time, but it's not permanent. And I do know that I need to put things in place, which we'll have a look at in a second. And once those things are in place, I should be able to get back to where I was previously. What it has made me realise is that I do not want to go back to masking the way that I was before. So when I was talking about sort of those workarounds around making people feel a bit better, that's not really masking to me as much. If I'm sort of emailing and sort of going around the issue to explain something, that's fine. It's the pretending to be somebody that I'm not, that I'm just not prepared to do moving forward, because that's what's put me in this situation. I will stim if I need to. I will do the things that I need to in life. An example of where I've had to stim recently and not be able to get out of it was, I don't leave the house very often at all, but there was a reason last Thursday that I needed to, and the whole way through that situation I was so dysregulated and scared and worried, and the whole world felt like it was huge and small at the same time. And I ended up sitting on the floor rocking, repeating the words to an Enya song. And it was the only thing that would make me feel better. And I went then and sat in the car and did the same thing. I needed to just keep repeating the words of that Enya song that I'd been listening to over and over again. So I'm in a really negative place when it comes to things, and I'm hoping I'm sharing this in a more positive way, but it's not great the place that I'm in at the moment. So what we're going to do now is have a look at some burnout reduction or prevention. So let's have a look at some ways that we can prevent or reduce the effects of burnout. So some of the ways you can reduce or prevent autistic burnout is acceptance and support, and that means both acceptance for yourself and from others. This can be helped with the test that I'm going to look at in a minute, so that you can communicate. Like I say, it's got a PDF that you can show to the doctor or show to other people if you feel like you can't communicate it with them vocally, but it hopefully will give you the ability to be able to look at yourself a little bit of self-reflection on whether you are in autistic burnout, and also being able to communicate it with others. But just that understanding yourself, so that other people can understand you and you can explain it to them and say, this isn't like burnout for a neurotypical person, this is more extreme and more long lasting, and this could go on for a while, and I need to put measures in place. If I don't put those measures in place, it could potentially get worse for me. I liked the way that the Autistic Society put this, and it kind of said, allow yourself to be autistic. So allowing yourself to be the autistic person that you are, wherever possible, as long as it's safe to do so. So allowing yourself to stim, allowing yourself to do the things that you enjoy, taking yourself out of social situations if they're not comfortable for you and they are going to be damaging. And allowing yourself putting those boundaries in place for yourself. Formal support, so from your doctor or from a mental health team. Again, I feel like the test could be helpful there, as well as the PDF. Reduce load, so taking time off if you can. Ensuring breaks are put in place, that you have discussed about reasonable adjustments. There is a video about reasonable adjustments that I've done around how to request them, which I will link at the end of this video, which could be helpful as a sort of add-on to this. And self-advocacy and looking after your own health. So setting healthy boundaries with people around you and stick to them, and ask for help when you need them. So sort of saying, I need to do this. And this is the thing, is not using I want to do this. This is something I've learned recently. I've always said I want to go home, for instance, when something's difficult. And people take that as a want, not a need. And if you start saying I need, they may start taking things more seriously, and that you are able to say I need this rather than I want to do this. But I kind of felt like I was always downplaying it by saying I want to rather than I need to. So there's some of the things you can put in place. They are quite broad, and there's not much I can say about putting things in place. Like I say, apart from start with saying things like I need and things like that, being open and honest with people, and allowing myself to be autistic and allow those things to happen. Taking time off is definitely something that I've done recently. That's not necessarily been beneficial to me, because there's added other stressors in my life, but it has been helpful as well for dealing with and helping me get through this. But yeah, definitely having that conversation to reduce your load of things in general. I've done that as well, but they are quite broad and will be relative to what you can do within your life. And like I say, if around the allowing yourself to be autistic, make sure it is safe to do so. That it's not going to cause you any problems when you're in that situation. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull up the test. I'm going to bring it up at the bottom, like I've done with a few other tests recently. So before starting the test, what I wanted to do is just go through some of these statement interpretations, just because I think it's a really good thing that this test has, because I've always complained about the fact there's not being context to tests quite often, and this one does give some good context. So it gives context to 5 of the 8 statements that are made. So the first one is, it became very draining to act appropriately or blend in when I was with other people. What they're discussing here is camouflaging. Many autistic people consider it offensive to say we are acting appropriately when masking. The question is, so basically this is rephrasing the question, has it been more difficult in the last month to mask your autistic traits to try and fit in? So that's really helpful, I think, to have that, because I agree, as saying acting appropriately just makes you sound like a child. It's infantilizing us quite a lot. So that is really helpful. So the second one is, I was much more easily bothered by everyday sounds than I used to be. So this test refers to within the last month. So it's, what this is meaning is, I am always hypersensitive to sound generally, so in general terms, but those aversive sounds became unbearable and painful in burnout. So very clear there that that's what that means. So number 3. I almost always felt like I had the energy to do what I needed to get done. This statement is a comparison of your energy level before, when you feel that you were burnt out. And the next one is, I was able to handle most everyday sensory environments without much trouble. Again, this is within the last month. Have the environments you typically experience caused you more distress than they used to? If going to the grocery store is something you have typically done, has that become more difficult? One thing to note here is that when we are burnt out, we avoid environments. So you can consider this also. Have you been avoiding the grocery store, for instance? And then finally, the 5th one that is being defined here for us a little bit is, I felt burnt out, a state of complete mental, physical and emotional exhaustion from everything I needed to do. So it's just clarifying the fact that it says a state of complete mental, physical and emotional exhaustion. And then it just says here, to clarify the framing of the statements, you may find it helpful to add over the past month to the beginning of each statement. So that's the that is the context to them. So the scoring here, so scoring ranges between 6 and 48, 48 being the highest. The threshold for burnout is 32. And then it says here, which is also quite interesting and quite a good point, any score of 32 or higher is indicative of autistic burnout. The higher the score, the more significant the burnout. Note that scores close to the threshold may already give reason to make some adjustments so as to lower your score and prevent autistic burnout. So it could be helpful as well to use this over and over again, potentially, so that you can see where you are. So if you're feeling like your burnout's got worse or it's got better, and you've put some measures in place, you could sort of do things to make sure that you are in a position of it getting better rather than it getting worse or anything. So you can sort of put measures in place for things and change those measures as you need them. So the answers to these are strongly agree, agree, slightly agree, slightly disagree, disagree, strongly disagree. So I can't fit all of those onto the page here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the question, and then I will go down to the answer afterwards. So It became very draining to act appropriately or blend in when I was with other people. This has got to the point where it is a strongly agree situation. I pretty much can't be around other people at the moment. I find it extremely difficult to, like I say, sit on the floor in a public place and needed to say the lyrics of an Enya song over and over again. So yeah, strongly agree. I'm just struggling to have any kind of communication with anybody. Mine are going to probably be very high, and I'm probably going to score very high at the moment because I'm right in the middle of this being quite a big problem for me. Usually I'd probably be much lower than this, even though I felt like I've been in autistic burnout for a long time. I still don't think it would be anywhere near as bad as I'm currently feeling with it. So I'm going to give quite a heavy number on this, I think, by the end of it. I haven't done this test before either. It's not like the other tests where I've done I've done them before. I haven't actually done this one. I was much more easily bothered by everyday sounds than I used to be. I would say agree rather than strongly agree to this. So yeah, I am much more, because it's saying much more. If I said strongly agree, then it'd be much, much more. It's not 24/7, but it is definitely having a major impact on me. I am finding that the issue that I have with the TV, that's happening more often, where the sound suddenly becomes loud. I hear, like I say, I can hear different noises of electricity now rather than just a general humming noise. I can hear it from every different angle. I can hear when something's happening in my around the vicinity of my house. I'm so hypersensitive to everything, and I think I'm hearing things as well. I think I'm hearing stuff when I'm not. So yeah, it's every little noise. If anybody makes any noise anywhere in the house, then it is definitely something that I pick up on straight away. I almost always felt in the last month like I had the energy to do what I needed to be done. Now this one's definitely going to be a strongly disagree situation with this one, simply because I have got absolute fatigue and exhaustion. It has taken me 3 days to get to do this video, and it's been a relatively simple video for me to do. It's not taken a huge amount of research because it was stuff that I'd already researched previously. And this is the only thing I've done in about 5 days when I say only thing I've done, it's the only thing I've done. I've not opened my laptop, I've not done anything. I literally have no energy at all to do anything. I'm struggling to get through this video. My brain is starting to switch off now. So yeah, difficulty with that. Definitely have no energy. I was able to handle most everyday sensory environments without much trouble. Disagree. I'd say strong. Disagree again. If I'm saying agree to the other one, then it's disagree with this one. I'm not able to handle my current stimuli that's been coming in through me my senses. The light in the room today is driving me insane. Everything's really, really unpleasant. It's not easy at all. I am struggling a lot with my sensory input. Noises, smells, sounds, like I've said previously earlier on in the video. Then we've got simple everyday tasks were physically or emotionally draining. Strongly agree to this. Just getting up off the sofa has been an absolute nightmare. It can take me hours to do it, and then I need to sit back down within 5 minutes. I'm completely drained all the time. Even thinking is draining me to the point of ridiculousness. Yeah. I can't do anything. Really, I'm really struggling. I felt burnt out by everything I needed to do. I think this goes, if I'm saying strongly agree with the previous one. I do. I feel physically, emotionally drained. Any conversation that I have to have with my housemate is emotionally draining for me. Even though there's nothing to it, it's just even saying hello just feels like a massive chore. Anything that I'm doing is feeling like eating anything at all, even things I like to eat, is not just a chore like it can be sometimes, or most of the time for me. It is every single time. I don't want to eat. I don't want to do anything. I don't feel like I'm either asleep or I'm not able to physically find the energy to do anything, and everything just seems like a lot of effort, and that it's problematic. So I couldn't take care of my responsibilities as much as before. Strongly agree. So this is relative. So obviously, I've spoken about this before. That sometimes I feel like I don't take care of all of my responsibilities. I now feel like as it sits at the moment, I'm not taking care of anything at all. Any of my physical needs, any of my emotional needs, or anything. None of my responsibilities in the house. Nothing at all. It felt I couldn't pay attention or stay on task as well as I could in the past. Strongly agree. I can't pay attention to anything. Like I say, I've not even opened my laptop, and today I really struggled to put this video together because of it, and it's been a very simple one. I was only really copying things from one place to another as part of my research. Very much so. I am really struggling to pay attention to things, and like I say, my working memory's really, really problematic at the moment. So let's have a look at my score, which is 46. I don't know whether you can see it. Yes, you can. So there's a PDF here that you can print out and you can take with you to a doctor if you wanted to go and take it, which kind of tells you where all of those things are. It gives you the statements and tells you what you've answered to them. Like I say, I'm not shocked by this at the moment. I would probably think that it would be usually prior to the SSRI change for me. I would say I would probably be looking at mid 30s, maybe late 30s at worst. This is an unusual time for me to be doing this, but I wanted to share this test with people and my experience with people of where I am sitting at the moment, and also to sort of just say, if you are feeling this way, do something about it. We can't just sit in this. We can't wallow in feeling this, because it's really, really unpleasant. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to have a look at just some final thoughts around this situation. So my final thoughts are, like I say, like I've just said, if you are feeling this way, take the test, speak to somebody and get support for it. Speak to the people around you and tell them you're feeling this way. And what I just want to remind everybody is that remember your own needs over the Christmas period. It is a time that's for everyone, not just neurotypical people. And as I've said in another video that I did around my naughty and nice list about things that I like and don't like about Christmas, it can be a time when burnout is exacerbated due to increased masking and sensory input, as well as social demand. So make sure you take care of your own needs and don't just think, I've got to look after everybody else. We do this all the time, where we're kind of like, let's make everyone else comfortable. If you need to take time out, take time out. Take care of yourself. Make sure that Christmas is for you as much as it is for everybody else. And if you do feel like you are going through autistic burnout, please speak to somebody about it, because there are people that will help, but sometimes it's just difficult to ask. I understand that, but just make sure that you ask and you tell people the way you're feeling, because it's hard. It's extremely difficult. And it's confusing and complicated. So yeah, sorry if this video's been a bit all over the place. I feel like I've said that at the end of every video recently because of the fact of my medication changes, and I thought it was all related to that, and it's actually been because of autistic burnout. But yeah, I feel like I feel like it's gone all over the place with this, but I hope it's been helpful. Have a lovely Christmas, and I will hopefully you will see a video from me in 7 days time, and hopefully I will have got somewhere with where I'm feeling and be able to be a bit less all over the place with my video. As always, please comment and say tell me how you've dealt with this, if you've had it before, if you feel like you have, what measures are you putting in place. And if you could subscribe, that's always a very welcome thing for me. It helps the videos get out there further. Anyway, thank you very much. Have a lovely Christmas, and you'll see my face before New Year. Thanks. Bye.